All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say. Because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line. Today's guest is Mr. Waldry Marte. Waldry here is a loan officer with Capital Lending Corp out in New Jersey. Now, I asked Waldry to be a guest on the show mainly because overall, this is a cool guy to talk to, and his whole idea of helping people through lending is something that I like to share with you guys. So Waldry, thanks for taking the time to be a guest on the show. How are things going for you?
Things are going well. Thank you so much, Jack, for having me on the call today. I'm really excited to be here and God willing, provide some value to whoever listens to this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. So let's it's been crazy right now. It's an election season and there's the pandemic and there's just
Yeah,
so many things going on. Lending is crazy. You guys are like on fire right now, that lending space, right? Um,
that's right.
yeah. Uh, how have you been getting through this pandemic? How have things been going pandemic wise for the business
Uh, you
individual?
know, yeah, you know what? At first, it was difficult, Jack, because the whole world had to adjust to new conditions and new regulations, new way of life.
Right.
And thankfully, I have been able to adjust and pivot for the new world that we're living in. And thankfully, at the office, we have also been able to adjust and pivot as a company to be able to continue to provide value to our customers. Meanwhile, other banks and people were closed down. We were still operational and providing solutions.
Yeah, I love that. So part of what I'm thinking about too is like when the pandemic hit, real estate took a kind of a hit too, right? And a lot of times, what we think is, especially when we were on lockdown, properties kind of just sat on a pending mode, right? And it was a completely different experience for a lot of people in the lending space, right? Because there's so many people relocating, leaving the inner cities to go look for more properties out in the suburbs, right?
Hmm.
So did you
Hmm.
guys have to do any kind of you know, changes because of, such a big migration from the cities to the suburbs, especially with the pandemic? Were you guys seeing more clients online, or how has that been going?
Yeah, so it really all depends, Jacques, on the type of property or asset class that we're talking about, right? So if we're talking about single family residence or one to four families, condos, owner occupied properties, yeah, there is a huge influx of demand now, people looking to move from the city to the suburbs, but which doesn't really affect us on the lending world.
Hmm.
But when you're talking about commercial clients, people buying mixed use properties or investment properties, that is where it gets a little hairy because now the lenders are a lot more stringent as to how much money they'll give you to be able to purchase the property, what is going to be the FICO requirements, and everything else. So when it comes to people who are buying the property not to live there, so non-owner occupied, uh, it's a lot more strict, if you will.
Yeah.
But in terms of owner occupied property, people looking to move from the suburbs to buy a house. I'm sorry, from the city and buy a house in the suburbs.
Hmm.
We are now taking a lot more phone applications, online applications, using things like DocuSign and Zoom
Right.
and FaceTime to be able to provide that service to our clients, so that way they don't have to come into the office. I'm also been working from home as well, and I'm also part time here in the office. So we've been able to still get the work done and still help clients out.
Yeah. How are people responding to you and the fact that you're accessible, you're in the office, you're at home, and this changes with like DocuSign and everything else. How are they responding? Are they a little like resistant to it, or are they like all for it?
No, I think that they're definitely all for it. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're telling someone you don't have to leave your house, just send me something to DocuSign, they're excited about it.
Yeah.
They don't have to use prints of paper or ink. That's more money that they're saving. So
Right. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And what about you? Like, so I'm not, me, I like to go out to meetings. I like to meet people, maybe get lunch together, grab a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
Nothing like, sitting down with somebody face to face and really, getting to know someone. Like, how are you adjusting with all of that?
Well, I definitely appreciate face-to-face meetings.
Yeah.
I was the type of guy that would be in networking events 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So adjusting to not meeting people face to face at first was difficult.
Yeah.
But once you overcome like the first week of working out, your muscles no longer get sore, so it
Right.
gets less difficult.
Right.
to handle. And it's just the convenience of, for example, being on this podcast here in New Jersey at 4 p.m. and then being in California at 5 p.m. or Eastern 5 p.m. without
Yeah.
having to take a plane or drive to New York or go wherever else. So
Yeah.
it's a really good tool
Yeah.
to take advantage of if you're looking to expand faster, because you can be in a lot of places at once.
Yeah, yeah, I'm doing the same thing myself, right? So
Exactly.
what's crazy is pre-pandemic, I was really, you know, I got more resistance from people about using technology or using Zoom, and it's like they wanted to meet in person, which I had no problem with, but I couldn't get across the country fast enough, right?
Right.
So like you're saying, we take advantage of this, like, Zoom and all these other virtual platforms and resources we have available to us. What was like business like for you pre-pandemic? Were you like doing a lot of business? Were you like kind of building your pipeline? What were things like for you?
Yeah, well, prior to the pandemic, I was doing business, but not, I'll be honest, not as much business as I'm doing now.
Right.
So I was kind of like plateauing, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually the pandemic hit, and I lost a lot of business
Gotcha.
because a lot of banks closed down.
Yeah.
And literally loans I was closing that week were just like, nope, not closing.
Wow.
So that was a huge shock, not just for myself, but a lot of people in the industry.
Yeah.
And then I had to figure out, what am I going to do now to feed my family and be able to move forward and
Yeah.
grow from this. A lot of people treat this pandemic like the worst thing in the world. Yes, I agree. It is tremendously negative,
Right.
impactful,
Right.
but there's also a lot of people that there's a lot of things that you can gain from what has happened.
Yeah.
So now I'm doing a lot more business than I was before.
Yeah. Well, so and this is what I mean by there's more to you than meets the eye, Waldry. There's definitely more to you than meets the eye, right? You are a parallel entrepreneur. You've got a few different things going on, right? Let's talk about a little bit of so pre-pandemic. You're also a real estate investor, right? What was
Right.
what was like the market looking like out there pre-pandemic? Was it busier? Were you a lot busier in the real estate investment side?
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, my partner is the one that deals more with looking for properties, putting in offers, and all that. I'm more of like on the back end. Uh, I will be honest with you. My strong suit is not going out looking at properties, putting in offers. My
Mhm.
my strong suit is packaging, uh, packaging loans, analyzing deals, and
Yeah.
knowing where the money is going to go, how
Yeah.
much is going to be left over, and all that other stuff. So pre-pandemic, my partner is going a lot, going out to see a lot of properties and
Right.
putting in a lot of offers. Once the pandemic hit, slowed down on that, but we were winning more offers though.
Right. Nice.
So that's how it has impacted our investment properties.
Nice. So I'm more concerned about like what is it about you that like what is it about because you're good at everything you do. And is it you really are, man. Like when I talk to you and I listen to you, you're very attentive to the needs of your clients. You are not just one of those people who are like, well, I just want to get paid. It's like, no, I want to make sure the right loan product is good for the right client, right? And how do we do that? And then the other thing is, okay, I want to make sure that everything that I'm doing bears fruit, right? So like you being in real estate, you being in lending, you want to make sure all your efforts are bearing fruit. Where does that come from? Where does that drive, that desire to be an entrepreneur, like a parallel entrepreneur? Where does that come from for you?
Well, you asked me a loaded question there. I'm going to answer to my best one by one.
Yeah.
So, the reason it might appear to you that I'm good at everything that I do is because I try to only focus on doing the things that I'm good at.
Nice.
Like, for example, that I just mentioned to you, my partner is the one that goes out to look at properties. I'm not good at that. I'm not going to spend my time on that because that's not my strong suit. I'll give it to somebody else, delegate it to someone that is the strong suit.
Nice.
So if we focus on working with people that are good at what they do, and you focus on doing what you're good at, I think you have a more successful team. They say, I think you have told me this in the past. Do not try to make your weaknesses stronger. Make your strengths stronger, or something like that.
Yeah.
Don't quote me, right?
Right.
So that's what I've been trying to focus on. Not trying, I have been focused on. I focus more on doing what I know I'm good at. So that way, that's why I feel like you see that. Your other question was, what is my bottom line, right? Why am I doing all these things? Bottom line, Jacques, is one, bills come no matter what. Whether
Right.
you're in a pandemic,
Yep.
whether you're
Totally.
whether you're not, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you have money, whether you don't.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'm young and I want to retire young.
Yeah.
Thirdly, my family, which is actually number one, is my family. I want to provide them a lifestyle that they never even thought of,
Yeah.
or have the ability to have that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want it, but they can do it
Yeah.
or have it available to them if they wanted it. So those are really my bottom lines, my family, my bills,
Yeah.
and just the fact that I want to retire young to do what I want to do. I don't mean retire, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
you retire, you kind of just die. I
Die.
mean,
Yeah.
I want to retire to do what makes me happy.
Yeah.
Besides helping people, I want
Yeah.
to dedicate 100% of my time to that.
Right. You see, what's interesting about what you just said is that a lot of people will get into like, and this is, again, you're like, when I see you and I listen to you talk about what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? It does seem to me like, for me to say that you're good at what you're doing means that you're efficient, right? And because in the areas where you may lack efficiency, you want to see, okay, well, I'm efficient here. I'm better off here. Let me focus on that, right? And a lot of my like strength-based coaching is modeled around focusing on you increasing your strengths and delegating your challenges or your weaknesses as like the world knows it, right? So
Hmm.
the other thing is you are in all three performance-based industries, whether it's real estate investment, whether it's lending, and even in relationship and
Finance. Hmm.
finance, right? This is all performance based. Okay, these are not areas where you're going to earn a set salary. You have there's no cap to what you're going to earn. So what I'm wondering is, how do you deal with all the risk associated with that? How do you deal with being rejected? How do you deal with a deal falling through? How do you deal with maybe waiting for a deal to close, right? How do you manage all those?
Well, the number one thing is saving. I mean, you cannot be successful unless you have savings,
Yeah.
first of all. And the reason that I'm able to do literally three different things, or three hustles, let's call it,
Yeah.
and all of them being performance based, I think it goes back to my first real job.
Right.
I was a waiter. Eventually became an assistant manager for the wait staff and a banquet hall, Fiesta banquet halls.
Okay.
And it was all about making the client happy with their special event, whether it was a wedding, sweet 16, bar mitzvah, whatever, and it was performance based. You needed to perform for your
Right.
client.
Right.
So they tip the staff well at the end of the party, you know. Also, so that way you don't get yelled at by your boss because
Sure.
the people complained that they had a horrible party, the service was
Right.
bad.
Right.
And then after that, I started working for a company called Primerica Financial Services, which was all about, it was all commission based. So through that, they taught me how to grind. What are the books you need to read? What
Yeah.
are the strengths that you need to acquire?
Right.
What are the things that you need to do to have success in a
Right.
commission based industry?
Right.
And the beautiful thing that you touched upon was that there is no income cap. I don't want nobody to control how much I make, when I make it, how I make it, as
Right.
long as it's legal, right? Um, and dealing with the risk. Well, with there is high risk, there is high rewards,
Yeah.
and I focus more on the reward than the risk.
Love it.
Uh, Obviously, that's something that you do take into mind when analyzing. But if I'm telling you, you're telling me I can cut my finger and get a whole cake or a slice. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, that's a
Right.
stupid example, but my point is, I'd rather take the risk to get the high reward.
Yeah.
And then waiting or the rejection, you're gonna get rejected every single day, no matter what.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Yeah.
Every person that tells you no is one person closer to the person who's gonna tell you yes.
Yeah. You got it.
And the fact that you're waiting, I'm young. I have nothing but time to wait.
Right.
And as much as I can push, I have learned over the years that sometimes some things are out of control. And you
Yeah.
just have to let things happen. And this pandemic is a perfect example for it. I thought I had certain things planned out and was going to go a certain way in 2020. And then my world was turned upside down. So then we had to pivot
Right.
and reanalyze the risk and what would be the rewards, and
Yeah.
then figure out how to go get that.
Yeah. So I like that you said that, right? You got to pivot, you got to reanalyze the risk, and you got to figure out what your next step is now. What I say to a lot of people is if you yourself, especially in performance-based industry, if you yourself don't know how to deal with those things like rejection, a deal falling through, you'll never be able to help your clients, right? And you'll become too transactional. You'll start pushing the sale, and you'll scare your clients away, right? And you're always trying to build your book of business based on your credibility, the trust factor, your likability, right? So how do you help your clients now? Because you have to have the patience of a sniper when it comes to waiting for a deal to close, or when it comes to like waiting for paperwork to come in. And
Yes.
sometimes, people don't get what they want exactly when they want it. So what are you saying to your clients, right? When they maybe they're not moving fast enough, or they don't understand the loan programs, or they don't understand the climate of the market right now. What do you say to them so that you can kind of continue to cultivate the relationship?
Yeah. So you know what? That's this something that my boss taught me is full transparency.
Love it.
If I tell you up front, Jack, listen, man, I totally understand what you're saying and why you want to close on X date, but unfortunately, that is not realistic for X, Y, Z reasons.
Yeah.
Most people will understand why that is not possible,
Right.
and they'll appreciate the fact that you're being transparent. And I will tell them, hey, I am being transparent with you, and I may not tell you what you want to hear, but I will tell you what you need to hear. If you don't like it, I totally understand. You may want to, if you want to work with somebody else, but unfortunately, they're going to end up, if they may end up stringing you along, and at the end of the day, it's gonna end up where with what I just told you.
Right.
So
Right.
if you would like to save that time, I can tell you what we can do to, mitigate X things that's why you want to close by that date.
Yeah.
And it's also about learning more about the need.
Yeah.
So why do you need to close by X date?
Right.
And they'll tell you, oh, it's because this or that. Okay, then maybe you could find a way to be able to help them still accomplish that goal that they had, but still close on a different date. So
Yeah.
it's all about communication, Jock. If you don't know how to communicate with your client, it's going to be very hard to uh, overcome some of those objections later on. I'd rather deal with them head first.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. So you manage their expectations at the outset. You're transparent. You let them know, you're not going to string them along, but if they decide to move on because of your transparency, there's a chance that they might get strung along, right? Um,
Yeah.
but then here's the other thing I'm wondering too, right? You've got a lot of people right now, like we were talking about before, who are leaving the city and they're moving into the suburbs. They want to get into the suburbs. And what's happening now is like, I think it's like a small business revolution. That's how I think about it right now, right? Because a lot of people are just like transitioning from like at the end of the day, there's a pandemic. People are trying to pay their bills. That PPP is done, right? For now,
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways, right? The unemployment is done also for now, right? Until maybe after this election cycle, right? So
Hmm.
you got a lot of people starting their own businesses right now, and they're under the gun. They're scared. There's a lot of uncertainty. But then people like you, and I like what you're doing, right? Because if you have I don't want to call it a millionaire mindset, you have an entrepreneurial mindset, right? What we'll hear on social media is like have a millionaire mindset. $1 million is worth jack right now, right? Like if I had $1 million, I know how I'd blow it in like 2 months, 3 months. I already know how, right? So it's like when people have three different hustles going, okay, maybe they have a job, they have like two side hustles, they have a job, they have three side hustles, they don't really know what they qualify for because they probably want to get that house in the burbs. They probably want to like have more space for their growing family. They don't know what they're going to qualify for. I think they have to show at least 2 years worth of profit, right? As a self-employed, right? Before they can get, fit the criteria for a loan product. So what are you doing, or how do you deal with those kinds of people that are transitioning from that from the city to the burbs to become homeowners, and still all they have is like their hustle, their business, their small business?
Yeah, Jack, that's a great question. And before I get into that, uh, the pandemic has shown people that your jobs are not guaranteed.
Right.
The only thing that's guaranteed is your efforts, and that time is going to pass by. So if you keep that in mind, that's why you're seeing so many more entrepreneurs and business owners or new business owners coming out,
Yeah.
because they're like, shoot, I just got fired. Now I can maybe put all the time I wanted to put into my side hustle and keep it and make it happen. The
Yeah.
reality is all the people were already out there doing these things. Maybe they were a little bit slow, and they didn't get off the ground because they didn't have to. So now the pandemic has forced people to do something different.
Yeah.
And prior to the pandemic, we have also been doing things different, but now people are actually appreciating it even more. And
Uh-huh.
let me get into that. So for people who are self-employed, they traditionally do not qualify for regular banking, conforming loans, conventional or FHA. So we take different approaches. Instead of looking at tax returns, we can look at other documents, and here are some of them. We can do a loan based upon your bank statements, which will be your qualifying income. What does that mean? So we'll look at your last 12 months of deposits into a certain bank account, whether that's a personal account or a business account, and we will account that as your actual income. Sorry, my
Yeah.
camera's falling. So we will use your deposits as the income instead of using your tax returns as the income, right?
Wow. Okay.
What else can we do? We could also do a stated income. So you
Hold on
can
a second. Hold on a second. Hold on. That sounds too good to be true, first of all, because no, it does, right? Think about it from like somebody starting out, right? Who's probably a realtor or drives an Uber
sure.
or,
Mhm,
has like is a creative and does like videos or something, right?
mhm.
So what you're saying is that they can take money from that they deposit in any account and you look at that as income.
Well, don't take everything I say too literal,
Okay.
because in banking you cannot do that.
That's why you're the banker. Talk to me. Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
it's not just any and every, right? So
Right.
I try to keep it simple, so that way if your viewers or anyone has questions, I can get more into it. If not, we'll be here 2 or 3 hours, which I would love to.
Yeah.
But like I told you before, business is booming.
Yeah. Got to get to it.
No, just kidding. So your bank statements, right? We're looking at the deposits that you make. So Jacques, if you're telling me, hey, I'm self-employed, I get paid, I get paid, but I write off a lot of my income, so I can't really show what's my taxes is not realistic as to how much money I make.
Right.
All right, so we're going to look at the deposits that you make into, let's call it your business account.
Okay.
Your business deposit is $2,000 from X person, that person, and it ends up being $20,000 in a month. All right, we will take 50% of your business deposits.
Got
So
it.
that would be 10,000, right? If it was 20K in a month, and
Okay.
that would be your actual income for that month.
Got
So
it.
we're going to look at 12 months of that activity, and there are things that we do take out, such as like transfers and some other things that don't count as a deposit. Because I mean, if you're transferring yourself money, that's not a deposit,
Right.
right? So then you get into all the nuances of how to qualify it, but it's a very simple, straightforward product. There's not really too much to it,
Yeah.
and no one has ever told me that sounds too good to be true. Usually people have already been denied at other banks,
Yeah.
that cannot qualify them in the same way that we do, and
Right.
they're just like, oh my god, there's somebody out there that can help me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the products that we have for self-employed.
Oh, yeah.
If you want, I can get into some other ones briefly.
Yeah. Talk to me.
Awesome. So we also do stated income.
Okay.
So
What's
for
that?
example, you can tell me, hey, I make $80,000 in a year, and that's what we're putting on your application. And they're not looking for any income verification. So they may just call your employer or whoever is the person that's paying you. Hey, Jacques says he makes 80K. Is this true? Yeah, it's true. That's what it is.
Wow.
Also, that's a lot. That's popular in the investment world. So if you're buying an investment property, we're not looking at any of your personal income. We're just looking at the income that the property receives, and
Nice.
that's what the loan's going to be based upon. We also have a no ratio product. That gets a little bit more complicated, but ratios
Yeah.
basically says how much money you make versus how much money goes out.
Right.
And we have a product where we don't care about those ratios, which is it's never heard of.
Right.
That's really good for self-employed people. Or for example, I have a client that he has to pay $4,000 a month in alimony and child support.
Really?
And he makes on paper like 70 grand a year. So that means that his ratios are like 60% expenses and the rest is income. So for that one, you would want to do a no ratios product, because in reality is he makes more money than that, he's self-employed, but he cannot show that, right? So the no ratios product allows you to be able to get the loan done without us having to look at how much money is coming in, how much money is going out. In his case, $4,000 alimony and child support, that's like 48 grand a year.
Yeah, no joke, right? Did you hear
Yeah,
about the one
man.
with Dr. Dre and his ex-wife? I mean, she was going after like $2 million,
A billion.
a billion or
Did
something,
it,
right?
wait, I don't know what it is, man.
Crazy.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't keep up with
Well,
celebrity stuff.
yeah, it's crazy. It shows up on my Google feed, but I'm like, what? That's insane, right? So,
Yeah,
I
I just
mean,
read the headlines.
yeah, me too. So that means there is some hope for, like, the self-employeds, right? And it's like what you said, they get rejected by major retail banks, but then there's other options available, right? With you guys over at CLC. Um,
Yeah.
so is it a good idea for people to have a multiple or like different side hustles like right now? Is that something people should steer away from, or is that like acceptable to a lender?
That's a tough question. Um, I'll answer it as best I can.
Sure.
We could only, if we're, for example, going to do a conventional loan or FHA loan, and
Yeah.
you have a regular job, we'll use the income of that job as long as you've been in that job for 2 years plus or in the industry, right? That's the standard. When it comes to your side hustle, a lot of people, for example, do Uber on the side and work a full-time income or full-time job.
Yeah.
We can use the income on your Uber if you have done it for over 2 years.
2 years.
But if you're starting a side hustle and it's brand new 2020, and you're trying to use that income as the income for to qualify for a loan, we're not going to be able to use it because you need to have at least 2 years of history in receiving that new income
Right.
or that side hustle income. A lot of something that you also people don't take into account is the fact that, for example, let's say you do Uber and you also have a full-time job. You made $10,000 in Uber, but you put $15,000 in expenses. That means that you're negative $5,000 as an Uber driver. So let's say you made 50K on your full-time job, you lost 5 grand from your side hustle. That 5 grand is coming out of where? Your full-time income. So now instead of making 50, you made 45 because you decided to write off all this money on your business, your 1099
Right.
or whatever it is that you're writing off.
Right.
So it's that's something that people need to really take into account.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. More about that, right? If they reach out. So the other thing I'm thinking is like credit, the person's credit, like what's the credit score to be eligible for any of those
Yeah.
products?
Yeah. So right now we're doing loans literally at 600 FICO score. Obviously there are exceptions. I mean, you can have 600 FICO and be in the middle of bankruptcy a day ago.
Right.
Obviously someone like that, it's difficult to get financing for.
Right.
Are we open to the task? Of course, to the challenge rather.
Got
But in terms of credit, every bank wants to have as high credit as possible, 680, 700, 800.
Right.
But we are able to work with credit challenge borrowers. But here's the real challenge: somebody that has really bad credit or no credit, somebody that has no income or low income, and somebody that has no down payment. How can that person ever get qualified?
Right.
So if you're telling me, hey, look, I have good income and I have down payment, but I have bad credit, we can work with that.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me I have no income, I have bad credit, I have no down payment, how is I'm not a magician. I'm just I'm good at my job.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not a magician.
Yeah.
So in that case, that's where it's at. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Because people are looking, man. It's like, families are not getting smaller. Families are getting bigger, right? Square
Yeah.
footage is getting smaller. And it used to be
Yeah.
that people would, graduate from college, get a job in some city somewhere, and they'd make money and they would meet that nice person, have a child, and they kind of like grow little by little. But now there's like everything is moving fast. And it looks like people are starting to realize how much power they have over their life right now, and jobs that are actually hiring. I mean, the employment numbers are what they are, right? But we got to talk about wages, and wages are extremely low. So somebody might have to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and they got no time for their family. So what's happening now is a lot of people are just starting their own businesses. And in 2 years, I think 2 years is a realistic timeline to be able to qualify for a loan. But what do people do in the interim? That's the other question, right? Like, what are some things they could do right now? If you got somebody who probably has, maybe a 580 credit, it's been 3 months, they haven't been able to pay their bills, right? Because of whatever reason, because of the pandemic. What can people do right now to start to qualify, like to build up, to start to
Yeah.
qualify?
Well, definitely, if you're thinking about buying a house, you should reach out to a professional, mortgage loan officer, or somebody that is capable of giving you that information. But the issue, Jacques, is that most people do not want to spend 10, 15, 30 minutes on the phone helping a client understand what they need to do today to be able to qualify tomorrow. And that's what really sets us apart at Capital Lending from the bunch. We believe in consulting, and we provide free consulting. A client may come into the office, they may not qualify today, but we let them know exactly what they have to do to be able to qualify in the future. So with that, everybody qualifies, right? But
Yeah.
you may not qualify today.
Right.
So we do take that time to sit down with clients and help them create a game plan to be able to qualify in the future.
Yeah.
And that's just something that we do, because at the end of the day, we're here to provide a solution. Is that solution to get you closed as soon as possible? Is that solution to provide you a loan even though you're self-employed? Is that solution to give you guidance and give you a direction of where you need to go to be able to qualify in 2 years or 6 months or whatever?
Right.
So the whole point is just to have a conversation with somebody that is a professional,
Right.
that is in banking, and that can perhaps get your loan done, so they can tell you what you need to do to qualify.
Right. Right. That makes sense. Yeah. So the other thing too is like building your business is hard. So a lot of times when you're building your business, you got to get any kind of lending options. Starting out, you have to use your own personal credit. And are there like other ways that maybe someone who's been doing their business for about 2 to 3 years can use any lending options to also build their business?
To be frank, right now, the business lending world is really it's choked up. There's a lot of businesses that need money, and unfortunately, the only businesses that are getting funded are the ones that don't need the money,
Right.
that have been, doing well, that have really good credit, that have all the clients and this and that.
Yeah.
The reality is that most banks don't want to take the risk of people that have only been around 2 or 3 years and maybe brand new, because if most businesses fail between 1 to 5 years,
Yeah.
imagine it during a pandemic. So, and we don't know how long this is going to last. I mean, it's almost been 1 year
Right.
that we've been in this.
Right.
So, with that in mind, the business lending world is very tight right now. I personally haven't closed any business loans since the beginning of the pandemic, and I have tried, but
Yeah.
it's just the fact that the banks do not feel comfortable. Lenders don't feel comfortable. And certainly, unless if you have real estate, that is the best way right now to get leverage for
Yeah.
your business,
Yeah.
by doing a cash out refinance,
Right.
or just maybe putting a lien on some equity that you have that you can tap into to be able to get some funding for your business. But in terms of a straight business financing without using any of your personal credit,
Mhm.
it would be difficult to find. I'm not going to say it's not out there, but it would be definitely difficult to find.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense because SBA is doing a lot of business lending right now, and they're choked up too.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. So, what are you seeing more of right now, like in the self-employed space? Who are you helping out the most right now? Would you say, like, in
What type
what
of
sector?
clients?
Yeah. What kind of clients? What sector? What space?
Okay. Well, health,
Hmm.
medicine. I have some doctors,
Hmm.
uh, people who clean, so that they own cleaning companies, but
Okay.
like, not like cleaning a house, but
Yeah,
like
like janitorial services.
janitorial
Yeah,
services,
I got a
right?
couple of those.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, plumbers and
Hmm.
people that are doing that type of. Cause people are home now, using the
Right.
toilets more and such. So that industry is doing well.
Right.
Accountants, um, logistics companies,
Yeah.
construction. Um, those are my main clientele right now as far as industries, for
Yeah.
self-employed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And how do you feel about like these loans, like these Quicken Loan and like Rocket, whatever? They got all these apps now, right? And it's like people, time is money, like you said. Business is booming,
Yeah,
right? So people will
yeah,
just download
yeah.
an app and think they can go ahead and get qualified. And they'll bring that to like maybe an open house. What's your advice about that?
Is subpar. You cannot get that type of service from a robot. And I think a lot of people are losing touch with the human contact connection because
Right,
of these apps,
right,
because of Zoom, because of all the things we have to do now to adapt. So
right,
if you want real quality service and get an answer for someone with a
right,
voice rather than with a number,
right.
please reach out to me.
Right.
Link down below. But no,
Yeah,
seriously though,
right,
if I'm a realtor and you come to an open house with a quick and loan pre-approval, I'd be like, all right, what documents did you provide to your robot for you to get pre-qualified?
right.
Like when I do my pre-qualifications and pre-approvals, I'm checking income, I'm
Yeah,
checking credit, I'm
yeah,
checking assets and everything.
yeah.
Now, can you call Quicken Loans and ask them, hey, uh, how did you qualify my client? Did you check all of these things? You can't, because you're going to get a generic number where you're going to call a hotline and you're going to get answered by somebody who knows where,
Hmm.
and they're going to have to look up all this information to see if the robot inputted it or took it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I mean, I get realtors that call me, hey, I have a pre-approval from your office. How's your name on it? Did you check this, this, and that? And I can tell them, listen, this client is more than qualified,
Yeah,
and they're happy to hear that.
yeah,
They're just calling to hear somebody.
yeah,
So using an app is can be very convenient. It can be beneficial for you if you need speed, but you may not get the quality. And I
yeah.
think quality is more important than speed.
Yeah, you're consistent, man, because at the end of the day, it sounds like everything you're saying is more right about centered around the relationship, being able to identify what the person needs and then point them in the right direction and then help them to get like results, right? But realistic results, like within a realistic
Right.
time frame also, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, so you're a young guy, you're a parallel entrepreneur, you've got three things going on, right? What is some advice that you can give to other solopreneurs, entrepreneurs like yourself? What would you say are some
Mhm.
good starting points? Maybe some mistakes that you've made that you can help other people avoid.
Yeah. Well, definitely some mistakes I made along the way is jumping around too much. So find something that you really enjoy or something that you can see yourself doing and only focus on that until you get really good at it, or at
Right,
least until you have a good grasp of what it is. But if you try to do, learn how to play basketball and then go to play football and also go to soccer practice, how are you going to get good at one sport
right,
if you're trying to do three? You know what I mean? But if you're telling me, hey, I'm doing MMA, I'm doing boxing and jiu-jitsu, whatever, they're all in defense and fighting. So
right.
those are much easier for you to manage. But if you're
Yeah.
doing three completely different things, it'd be difficult. Like in my case, I'm in real estate as an investor. I'm in finance as a loan officer, and I'm in finance helping people get educated. All of that has to do with money
Right,
and real estate,
right.
right? So it's not difficult to focus. But going back to your question, somebody starting out, find someone that has done what you're looking to do.
Mhm.
Beautiful thing about 2020 and technology is that you have YouTube University where you can get a free education for pretty
Right,
much everything and anything.
right.
And you can find someone that has already done what you want to do. There's a lot of courses out there that people make of successful entrepreneurs and everything else, and you
Yeah,
can learn from them. You don't have to create anything no more from scratch. I
yeah.
feel like the creativity for the next generations to come are going to be very difficult, because what are you trying to improve on?
Right, right.
People say, "Oh, I can't wait to be in the future." We are in the future, Jack.
Yeah.
Everything that you never thought was imaginable, you see on Star Wars or whatever, we're doing it now.
Right. Yeah.
You have a TV on your Samsung refrigerator now.
Yeah, it's
You have
insane.
washing machines that talk to you and connect to your phone. You can talk to Alexa, tell you what the weather is, or Siri,
Yeah.
whatever. So I'd say take advantage of the fact that everything has already been done and
Yeah.
learn from it, and
Yeah.
focus on one thing. And that, even if you don't see the results right away, think about your bottom line, like you mentioned before, and then use that to motivate you to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
Because the ones that push forward are the ones that succeed.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. That's great advice. How long did it take you to get to where you are now? Would you say, like on a timeline? Would you say like 5 years, 3 years? Like that process to get not
I,
even to
I,
like monetarily. I don't want to think about monetarily. Like your mindset to get you to where you're
okay,
like, no matter what, this is gonna work. This is what I'm sticking with. How long do you think it took you to get
my life, bro.
there?
It took my whole life.
Yeah,
All right, from the point that I was cognizant that I'm an adult and I need to do things for me able to reap the benefits,
yeah.
I would say it took me like a solid 3 to 4 years to have the mindset of going forward and focusing on one thing.
Hmm.
Because like I was learning trial and error along the way.
Hmm.
I didn't have someone to tell me, hey, just do that, focus on that.
Hmm.
Don't deviate.
Yeah.
Read these books,
Hmm.
study your craft. Pivot,
Yeah.
make a plan every single year, every 3 months. If something doesn't happen, okay, you didn't give yourself enough time. Now
Hmm.
readjust and,
Hmm.
and implement and study everything else. So it definitely took me a few years to have the mindset, but I was building it gradually. And I think it's something I was also born with, to be honest.
Yeah, I see that in you. I
Uh,
definitely see that in you. Like
yeah,
there's this intrinsic motivation inside of you, man. And I'm wonder where not only that, like, sometimes when you mentioned you had a job, you were like a waiter, and then, for you're all performance based. So it's like this is all commission, commission, commission. So what is it about or that process, man, that keeps you coming back to that hustle, to that what is it for you? That were you always like that as a kid? Like what does it come
uh,
from?
yeah. Well, in high school or middle school, I was I would sell. I would go to Costco and buy a 5 pack of 5 gum,
Okay.
and I would sell each gum stick at 25 cents a pop.
Huh.
And after like a 15 pack of gum, I think I made like 250. I forget what the math is.
Nice.
0.25 times 15 sticks. So,
Yeah.
I made my money back on a pack, and then I had money to go buy myself some candy after school or
Right.
lend somebody, 2 quarters, and then they pay me back three the next
Right.
day.
So you
So
were
I don't know.
charging interest back then. You were
I
even
was.
charging interest.
I
Yeah.
certainly was.
Yeah.
I just always had the entrepreneurial mentality.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my whole family is just it's like that.
Yeah.
Most people in my family are self-employed, uh, or want to win big. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's in the blood.
Yeah. Top influences? Who are some of your top influences, would you say? Whether family or anything outside of family, like who are some of your top influencers?
Uh, uh, Alive and can be alive and dead too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Just so I can get an idea,
All
man.
right.
Because it's like you're young and you're ambitious, and it's like, what is it, man, that makes you keep going? Like, there's got to be some influence from a young age that you were just like seeing it, and you started modeling it, and then you just kind of like expanded on it.
Yeah. Well, I would say definitely Napoleon Hill
Okay.
is somebody that I really look up to. He was somebody that had nothing
Yeah.
and made huge following and impact in the world.
Yeah.
And the things that he talked about when the book was written, Think and Grow Rich, it was in like the 30s or something, or the 20s.
Yeah.
He spent 25 years writing that book. If you could spend 25 years studying something for like a 250-page book,
Yeah.
why can't I spend 5 years studying my craft to become the best at it?
For sure.
Aside from Napoleon Hill, I would say, what's this guy's name? Jim Rohn. Oh, I
Jim
love that
Rohn.
guy.
Yeah. Jim Rohn's a
Jim
beast,
Jim
right?
Rohn.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn is a master.
Farm. He was like grew up on the farm.
He grew up on a farm and ended
Yeah.
up being super wealthy, and someone that was out there helping people.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I would say my dad, man. My dad doesn't complain. My
Right.
dad does what he has to do. We immigrated from the Dominican Republic, came to this country,
Yeah.
lived with my uncle for a few years. We lived with him, and then my dad's able to save enough money. We rented an apartment. My dad was always working for himself as a project manager or something. He
Nice.
eventually saved up enough money, bought a house, and my dad just always took me to work with him every weekend. I would hate it, to be honest, but I look
Right.
forward to the Dunkin' Donuts lattes in the
Yeah.
morning with whipped
Nice.
cream,
Nice.
and I would
Yeah.
just and I would go there weekends like Saturdays and Sundays, to this big plan. It's called Striker,
Okay.
and I would hand out the checks to the employees.
Yeah. Get out of
So
here.
everybody knew that when I came over, it was payday, and
Ah,
they would all love me. They would all love me because I was the one
right.
handing out the check.
Yeah.
But I feel like that plants its seeds in my subconscious mind. Like, be the
For
one to
sure.
hand out the check, be the one to control your time, be the one to control, everything as much as you can.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's where that came from, man. I really look up to my dad because he's the person I feel like taught me and instilled in me all the values that I have today,
Yeah.
and that showed me that literally the sky is the limit. And I'm not a millionaire, neither is my dad or my family,
Right.
but we all have the belief that we can do what we want to do,
Yeah.
and the only thing stopping us is ourselves, Jacques. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not gonna say most people, but a lot of people in this country are all immigrants.
Yeah.
All right, and why did we come to the USA? You know, you came to this country. A lot of people came to the country for opportunity.
Opportunity.
So, and a lot of us, we forget about that,
Yeah.
because we're doing so much better here than we were there, because now we don't have to worry about the water being warm. We don't have to worry about losing power. We don't have to worry about, random
Internet.
things,
Yeah.
internet,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we get comfortable and say, okay, this is a much better lifestyle. But
We
the
complain.
reality is that you're in the land of opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You
what are you
gotta
going to do with that?
create your own opportunities, right? And that's really what you do, man. Like, you create opportunities for yourself, and you also, and I think what, in talking to you, language is super like powerful, because your language, the way you talk, the words you use, right? I think what it does is it sparks something in other people that makes them want to talk to you more, right? Because when I talk to you, I always want to get more out of you, because you have that positive language, like what you said opportunity. We came here, we don't complain. It's like this language is what makes people realize what the true potential is. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think it shows, man. All your influences and everything, it all shows. All of it shows in your work. It shows in your ethic, right? Where do you see the industry, like, say, 3 to 5 years from now, lending as a whole?
Definitely, I'm going to say interest rates are going to increase. Uh, yeah, and there's not going to be as many people refinancing. It's going to be a lot of people buying. Um, um, it's so uncertain, Jacques, because today's election day.
Yeah.
We don't know who's going to be elected. I'm sure a lot of people claim that they know.
Right, right. You don't know.
We'll
We don't
find
know.
out in a day or two,
Yeah, or in a week.
and or in a week, or whoever knows how long.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that lending is influenced by so many outside factors, like the economy, other countries. Are we at war? Are we not? Is the Fed printing money? Do people have jobs?
Yeah.
All of these things. So it's really hard to say, but I would say that in the next 3 to 5 years, the rates are going to increase. People are going to stop refining. People are just going to want to buy. It's going to be a lot of more opportunity for rents. People who invest in investment properties.
Yeah.
They're going to have more people looking to rent a unit,
Yeah.
um, and that's where I see it going.
Yeah.
So if you're an investor, definitely, also a lot of foreclosures and bankruptcies,
Yeah.
and a lot of transfer of wealth. Another thing.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you're an investor, you want to take advantage of
Right now.
save some money, refi, cash out as much as you can,
Yeah.
and take advantage of when the things start hitting the fan.
Yeah. The older guys would say, I listen to a lot of like Kiyosaki and what's the other guy? Icon. I listen to these guys, and what they say is Mark Cuban, what they say is that
Yeah,
there's a downturn every 12 years or so. Every 10 to 12 years there's a downturn. So right now is like an opportune time to swoop in and just start buying, right? And like you're talking about that transfer of wealth, right? So
yeah.
yeah, that's a pretty good prediction, man.
Something that you mentioned, Jacques.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
Language, right? I think today we forget about language. Um, I'm gonna sidetrack real quick.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
There's a realtor of mine. His name is Jeff. We work closely together,
You're
and
on
he's also a
blast,
teacher.
Jeff. You're on blast now.
No, I'm gonna say good stuff. He's also a teacher,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're not even teaching script in school anymore. How are you supposed to learn how to sign a document? How can you buy a house and sign an application if you don't know how to, sign.
Wow. Wow.
So, and I mentioned that because back in the day, let's call it 1900s, 1800s, whatever, your word was your bond. Nowadays, your thumbs are your bond. I mean, you could text something and mean something else, send an
Right.
emoji, whatever else. So people are so used to not being held accountable for the things that they say. And I think that we need to go back
I like
and
that.
think about the things that we say. Uh, words are meaningful, and words can hurt, or words can make you feel good.
Yeah.
So I say choose the right words and choose to expand your vocabulary because it really goes to show what kind of person you are, what kind of books you read, where you're going. If you're a business owner, you're talking all sorts of crazy things. I mean, who wants to do business with you?
Right. Right. Isn't it funny that most books are written at a sixth grade level?
Yeah,
Isn't that funny? But then it's like how you interpret that information is up to you,
yeah,
right? So it goes
yeah.
right to what you're saying, right? If you're a business owner and you're not really using the right language, you don't know what opportunities are available, then you're not going to grow. That's a. I didn't know that they weren't teaching script in school anymore. I didn't know that.
Well, at least in his school district, they're not teaching anymore because now everything
Uh-huh.
is online. You know how you, I just don't know, bro. It's
Yeah, that's crazy.
uh,
Yeah, my son is 8 and he loves writing. He's like cursive, Papa. I want him to learn more cursive. You know what I mean?
there
So
you go.
yeah, I appreciate that he actually likes that because I still write in cursive because I feel like I'm a father now. It's been 8 years, so something I say is gonna have to look like appropriate, like when
Yeah,
being reviewed in the future. You know what I mean? Let's play.
correct.
Let's play a quick game. It's
All
called
right.
hand. It's called hands down, the lightning round. Okay. I'm gonna
Okay.
ask you three. I'm gonna give you three topics. You give me your bottom line about these topics. If you don't want to talk about the topic, just go ahead and say pass, and I'll move on to the next one. All right.
Okay.
Okay. We were talking about the future earlier. So, your favorite future-esque movie when you were like maybe a kid?
Avatar.
Avatar.
Yeah. It's a
Okay.
very long movie, but it's a great plot. It shows you about the future, and actually some of those things in the movie you actually see today.
Yeah.
It's about love. It's about understanding other cultures and working together against for a better tomorrow.
Yeah. That's the
So
one with
definitely
Zoe.
Avatar.
Zoe
Huh?
Saldana, right? Zoe Saldana, that one?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I'm really bad with names and celebrities, like I
Yeah.
told you before.
Avatar.
So
Okay.
hopefully I don't get roasted.
You're busy. You're making things happen, right?
Yeah.
Next topic. Out there by you, where's the best place to get a quick lunch?
Mm, you know what? I'm gonna pass on that only because I have been bringing lunch to work for like.
He is serious about getting work done. I love it.
Well, I'm blessed because my
Yeah.
girl cooks for me.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So shout out to her.
Yeah.
But I just save so much more money, bro. Honestly, like I'd
Yeah.
rather put that money into something that is gonna benefit me tomorrow than just spend $10 down the block getting some really good Spanish food.
Yeah.
But I've been packing it for
Yeah.
mostly this whole year, so I'm
Nice.
gonna pass on that.
Well, there is a pandemic, and what's funny is if you go full circle, you are literally eating your own cooking, right?
Yeah,
It's like, right, the saying, "Eat what you kill, eat your own
yeah,
cooking." Yeah,
yeah.
you're literally eating your own cooking. All right. And so next topic, last topic, with the pandemic being what it is, right? And people having the option, Salesforce, their entire team is working online. What do you think is a better fit for you? Working online, working from home, working remotely, or coming into the office?
I'm gonna say that it's a balance of all of the above. Uh, Honestly, bro, yesterday I didn't come into the office. Yesterday was my birthday, but I didn't come into the office because it was my birthday. I didn't
Happy
come into the
birthday.
office
That's
because
right.
thank you. I didn't come into the office because uh, it was windy as hell, and I just didn't feel like leaving my house
Right.
to come into the office. I'm like,
Right.
winter's coming. I'm a Caribbean guy. I like the warmth. I don't want to
Right.
step out,
Yeah.
and I was able to get everything done from home. but there are days where I'm like, I need to go into the office. I need to focus. I need a different atmosphere. I need to meet with a client. I need this or I need that. In an office setting, it's more appropriate.
Hmm.
But then again, there's also other workforces. There's jobs that we don't really need an office.
Right.
Uh, my girlfriend works on Wall Street. She does. I hope she doesn't mind talking about her
Right.
work, but she does payroll
Okay.
for a company that Wall Street company, and she's been working from home since March, I believe,
Wow.
and she hasn't had to. There's nothing that she cannot do from home
Yeah.
that she gets done at the office. And for her, it's an hour to get into a city, taking public transportation and paying for this and that to go do the job and then come back home, where she eliminates the transportation
Yeah.
and is efficient enough to get the work done and has had no complaints.
Nice.
So I feel like we're also going back to real estate. We're going to see a lot of commercial real estate offices coming on the market, or maybe a lot of for lease signs, because companies are realizing, wow, we don't need 500 people in an office if 200 of them are all admin and can do the job from home.
Yeah.
We don't need as real estate. Let's sell some off or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what I see in the future as well. Going back to the 3 to 5 year question,
Yeah.
and myself working from home or coming to the office.
Yeah. That's actually happening as we speak. You're right. Yeah. And finally, Waldry, what is your bottom line? That reoccurring truth for you, right? That serves as rocket fuel. That, like, no matter what, in spite of any setback, you use this and it propels you forward. What is that for you?
I want to leave a legacy behind for my family. I want to leave behind another example, because there are already many, of young people that are immigrants that are coming to this country, that are minorities, that didn't know the language when they came here and learned and was able to adapt and was able to become successful. I want to leave behind a roadmap of how to do it. And like I said before, there are already roadmaps. Okay, there are already people that have done all of these things.
Yeah.
So why not follow in their footsteps if you're really looking to have a better future, a better tomorrow?
Yeah.
Also, just bringing more opportunity for future generations in my family. That is another reason. And lastly, uh, for my family, man, I just want everything I do is for my loved ones. Not, and when I say family, I don't use the term blood related. I'm saying people who I love.
Right.
you know
Right.
and I love everybody, because well, I'm not gonna get into religious things, but I love everybody until proven
Yeah. Yeah.
otherwise.
Until you got to love them from a distance, right? I love you from over there. You want to keep me,
Right,
right?
I'll see you through Zoom. Like,
Right.
so the bottom line is leaving a legacy, changing my family's future, and just creating something different for generations to come. I don't know what generation I am, but I know that the last generation didn't leave everything for me too easy. So I want to make it easier for the next generations to come, to be able to reap the benefits of the things I have laid out today.
Nice. Yeah, man. I'm sure your dad is so proud of you. I could just imagine, as a father myself, if I were to hear my son speak that way, I'd be like, yep, there he is. He's better than me. He's better than me, and he's made it. That's all I care about.
Job done. I'm
Yeah,
signing off.
job is done. Yeah, there it is. I'll go move to, like,
Yeah.
some Caribbean country somewhere and just chill out under the shade. That's
Well,
what I
after I retire him, he can go do that.
Yeah, man,
Word.
definitely. Where do people find you, Waldry?
People can find me on Facebook, Waldry Marte, Waldry. Last name Marte, Marte. People could find me on LinkedIn, same name. People could Google me. I'm on Google, Capital Lending, Waldry Marte.
Yeah.
Feel free to like my page on Facebook, follow me on Facebook, friend request me, email me, whatever. Really easy to get along with, as you see on the podcast, hopefully. I love making new friends and new relationships, so I want to see how I can help anyone that
Definitely.
reaches out to me.
Definitely, man. Thanks for taking the time. Look, this is going to go a long way. Like you said, there's a future generation out there who are lost and they're not
Yeah,
100% sure which direction to go in. And then you got the ones who are actually in school, studying, doing what they got to do. But by the time they get to the workforce, everything's changed, right?
Yeah,
So for you to leave a roadmap available to that future generation, you know, a lot of people are going to benefit from that, as a lot of people are benefiting from working with you now, right? So definitely appreciate you taking the time to be a guest on the Bottom Line. Hopefully we could do this again, and we can go more into, like, you know, talking about money and how money actually works and your knowledge of money and all, right?
sure.
Definitely. So any last words for the people?
Hey, no, Jacques, shout out to you. Thank you so much for, inviting me to the podcast. Thank you for the opportunity to get in front of your people. Thank you to everybody that listened so far. Don't hesitate to call if you have any questions or contact me. I'm sure Jack has my information. Last words, dude. We are in the best country on this earth, aside from all the craziness of
Yeah.
whether it's the president or the government or the pandemic or the handling or this or the that. Find your why, find where you want to go, and go towards it, and do not look to side to side. Be like a horse. What do they call these things?
Tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision, baby.
Yeah,
Focus on going forward. If you can focus, you can do it.
there it is.
Thank you,
And
Jack.
definitely. And that's where we'll leave it. This was the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line.